guys, it's Jessica from Peace Love Books, and today I'm here with the first half of my June wrap-up. It is the 17th that I'm filming this. I cannot believe we're already halfway through June. I say that every month, but I had a lot going on in June so far. I did go on a trip from the 1st to the 5th, I believe. I went to Atlanta, visited some family, and visited some YouTube friends, and had so much fun, but I did not get a lot of reading done. During that time, I was mostly reading novellas or really short romances, and then when I got back, I started reading really long romances. So the last 3 books I read were all almost 500 pages or more, so I was reading really long ones. I was trying to catch up on Mariana Zapata's backlist, so I've read a lot, but it doesn't feel like as much as I should be reading in summer since I am on break. I was out of school the last couple days of May, so I have not had to go into work, and it's been so nice, but I have been pretty busy, and I've been doing a lot for my channel, and I've just been enjoying my time off. But I have 16 books to share with you, so I'll go ahead and get to everything I've read so far this month. The first one I read was Sing Me to Sleep by R.M. Virtue. This one was one that I read while I was traveling, so like on the plane, and then when I needed downtime. And when I had any downtime, it was pretty short, and this one is a, I guess, monster romance. It's like sleep paralysis, and he's like a demon in her dreams, and then they end up falling in love with one another, and I thought it was pretty good. I didn't super love the romance, and I wasn't like really super invested into the story, but I thought it was a pretty good story and very unique, especially because like she was having nightmares and was like scared to go to sleep, but then she started like being intrigued by him and liking him, and then trying to overcome something that was happening in her normal life. So I ended up giving this one 3.5 stars. I just thought it was a really interesting monster romance. I'm trying to get into more of those, but it wasn't like my all-time favorite romance or one that I super loved, but it was definitely an interesting story. Then I read Don't Tell Me No by Honey Chanel. This is a sapphic novella, and it was super steamy, but the writing was not the best. So I was really intrigued by this because the heroine's husband goes into a lot of debt, I believe with his boss, and the boss wants him to pay her back by giving her his wife. So the wife is the other heroine, and they've kind of like been eyeing each other already and really liking it, so she has to move in with the boss, who is like this multi-millionaire, and they have some fun together, and I really enjoyed that. But the writing wasn't the best. It wasn't very descriptive. They used the same like type of phrases over and over again, and it would just say like, oh, they kiss passionately, and like that was their description, so it didn't really give like detailed description. It was just very kind of surface level writing, but I had a good time reading it. It was just short and hot, and that's really all it was for, so I gave it 3 stars. Then I read Spring Semester by QB Tyler, and this one I never hear anybody talking about. I hear people talking about first semester, and then, is it second semester? Yeah. And then there's spring semester. So there's 3 books, and I do believe that she wants to finish the series, but this one was very messy. It felt like Greek, the TV show, just like a college soap opera. It's friends to lovers, but it's so messy. Our hero and our heroine have been friends since high school, and they've like had a friends with benefits relationship since high school, even if they're dating other people. So they like continuously cheat on their significant others with each other, and that's like the premise of the whole book. So they are both currently dating other people, and they're sleeping together, and then they finally decide like, we really just want to be with each other, and so they decide to break up with the people they're seeing to be with each other. They're like finally declaring their love, but then the hero goes to break up with his girlfriend, gets blackout drunk, thinks that he sleeps with her, but he doesn't know. He just wakes up and neither of them have clothes on, and then she comes back and says she's pregnant. And so our heroine is horrified. So she's like, you cheated on me, like we were supposed to be together, and now you're having someone else's baby. And like, it is drama. Very messy, very entertaining. Can I say that I liked it? I don't know. I was thoroughly entertained the whole time, but like I didn't love any of these characters. And if you have a problem with cheating, do not read this, because they literally cheat on everybody with each other and like don't even care that they're doing it. So it was just okay, and like a lot of drama, just so much drama. So I gave it 3 stars. It wasn't my favorite by her, but I at least had fun while I was reading it. First up in the long books that I read was Asher by Carrie and Cole. I listened to this one on audio, and someone had messaged me, I don't remember who now, saying that I would really like it because it's an amnesia second chance romance, which I'm gonna get to my reread of Forget Me Not, which is one of my favorite books ever. This one is a amnesia romance, like I said. It is book 6 in the series, and it's actually the parents of, I believe her name was Kenzie from Torn, and I didn't love Torn, but it was interesting seeing like them already together from Torn. This was takes place after the book Torn, and the parents are like super famous rock stars, right? The dad's part of Ashes and Embers, and the mom is part of her own like girl band, and they're madly in love, and they're like, we want to just step away from like touring and music, and we want to pay attention to our family, maybe have another child. And then literally when they're talking about that, like, they're still madly in love with one another. The heroine gets into an accident and loses her memory, and she is having a really hard time just recovering because she's actually in a coma for 8 years, and our hero makes sure that he sees her all the time. He is determined to stay faithful to her and love her forever, and so she's still alive. He shows up all the time, and she wakes up and doesn't remember anything, so they have to help her get a memory back. She is like a completely different person though, so that's where the aspect that this took with this book is that she doesn't feel like the other her. She feels like she's a different person, and that she's like kind of stealing this other woman's life because she doesn't feel like that's her. So I didn't love that aspect about this, because then she decides to like change things about herself, and like of course they're gonna end up being together. This is a romance. They have an HEA, but it was good. I gave it 4 stars. I did like all the emotion and drama between them, because like her daughter shows up and she's like, I'm definitely not old enough to have a daughter your age, because they had her when they were like 15, and then she's like, oh, but now you're married to my best friend, and like she's really thrown off by this, and she doesn't feel confident in herself because she has been in a coma for 8 years. She feels like she sees these pictures of this other woman who's just gorgeous and confident, and she's like, that's not me. So she's kind of feeling like she has to find herself, find her confidence, find things that she loves. She loves painting when she never painted before. She feels like she can't sing even though she was an amazing singer before. So she's trying to figure out like her life and her relationship with Asher, and it was good until we got to like near the end and she started changing stuff that I didn't really love, because she changed it without telling him and kind of surprised him with it, which they acknowledged she probably shouldn't have done it that way, but I gave it 4 stars. It was still really good. It was a little long, but it didn't live up to my favorite, but I still enjoy that trope so much, so I'm glad I read another book with that trope. I did reread Forget Me Not by Kiwi Tyler. I did this as a members exclusive reading vlog, as a reread of mine. I did end up highlighting and tabbing this book. I absolutely love this book. It's a marriage and trouble amnesia romance, and they're on the brink of divorce, like literally weeks away from finalizing divorce. They're both seeing other people. He had cheated on her in the past, so she was having infertility issues. Know that all that this deals with all of that, but he gets into an accident and can't remember the last like 5 years. So to him, they are still absolutely madly in love with one another, and they have to recover from that. So I just adore this book so much, and I actually like fully annotated a copy with my like notes and stuff, and I sent it on to Kiwi Tyler, so she should be getting that any day now, which I'm so excited to see her reaction, because she knows this is my favorite book by her. It was my first book I read from her. She knows how obsessed I am with her books now in this book, and I just wanted to gift her a little something. So I transferred all my tabs and highlights into here, but I did like have reactions and like writing in my actual book. If you're a member of my channel, you do have access to that video where I chat all about rereading one of my favorites. It's still a favorite. I love it so much. Then I listened to the audiobook of Malice by Coralie June. This is the start of reading books from indie authors going to Book Bonanza. This is a collab I did with Tori and Morgan, so I will link that video down below. But this one was actually very entertaining. This is a reverse harem. It's with brothers, and so the beginning was interesting because I was like, I don't know where this is going. Our heroine works at a diner, and this girl comes in a lot, and they're really close friends, but she can't know things about her. She comes in with this bodyguard, they chat, she leaves. She can't contact her, she can't ask her personal questions. Well, she ends up being dragged into this girl's family because this girl's actually from like this mafia empire, like these really bad guys, and they're her brothers. So Malice is her one brother, then we have 2 other brothers, and they're all very different, and our heroine has a relationship with all 3 brothers, and so it's so entertaining, and there's a lot of like danger and action going on and unexpected villains, and so I really enjoyed it. I had a really fun time. I did give it 4 stars. It wasn't like necessarily a 5-star read, but I'm definitely excited to read more. It did remind me of the Madison Kate and Hades series a lot, so if you like those series by Tate James, I would highly recommend this one. I've already got the next book out on audio at my library. They're very short. They're like 7 or 8 hour audiobooks, so I'm glad I read this. Coralie June's going to be at Book Bonanza that I'm going to, so I want to read more by her before I get to meet her. Then I read He Did Rivalry by Rachel Reed, and this one I had no idea people are obsessed with, so I started reading it and I got so many messages of people being like, oh my gosh, I'm so excited. This book is so good. It is, I think, Shane and Ilya, and I think it was Shane. I don't remember the other hero's name, but it is a hockey romance, and it is MM. It is book 2 in a series, but it can be read as a standalone. This one I mean, I think you get more out of it if you read them in order, but they are literal rivals. They grew up in the hockey world, and they both kind of got their rise at the same time. One's Canadian, one's Russian, and so they were constantly pit against each other because they were always at the top, and like it was like who's going to be picked first in the drafts and who is going to be the biggest goal scorer. So we get to see them pretty much since they're teenagers and meet each other, and then when they have their first encounter and hook up, and then they start hooking up and not calling it something any more serious, because they don't hate each other, but they are rivals, and they kind of resent each other when one's doing better than the other, and they are both dealing with personal things as well, especially Ilya with his family at home, and they start opening up to each other, and it is so good. But of course, they're like, being gay in the NFL is not something that a lot of people are open about, and so they did talk about the hero from book 1 who did come out as gay and what would happen if they did as well. But they were just so cute together. They were so sweet. I loved how they fell for each other and how they didn't want to say I love you first, and I was just obsessed with everything about this book. And I love a sports romance where they're both athletes and they're playing against each other and watching each other. There's so much hockey in here, which I love in my sports romances. So this book was so good. It does end on a happy for now, and I think book 6 is their second book, but then I was told that I should read them all in order, so I'm going to continue on reading them in order, and I'm dying to wait to see them finally officially have their happily ever after. But I love this book so much. 5 stars. I read Crimes of Passion by Jack Carbon. This is an Audible exclusive novella, so I believe it's only available as an audiobook on Audible. And I did see Bree and Tori had read it, Bree from In Love and Words and Tori from Novel Life, and I know Tori was talking about it on our trip, and so I decided to download it, and this was so good. It's and it is 2 true crime podcasters, which I think is so cool because we got little snippets of their podcasts, and one of my friends on Instagram was saying like, I wanted to keep listening to their podcast, like could we get more of that? And they don't like necessarily get along because they kind of focus on different parts and aspects of true crime. Like one's really trying to raise awareness about it, while the other one is kind of more like to the sensationalizing of it, and one's like way more popular. But then they're at a convention and this woman comes up and says, my daughter has passed away and she was your biggest fan and she'd love for you to collab on one together. So they end up having to collab on a podcast, and it is just so cute. Like, it's definitely hate to love. They do not get along at first, and I just really loved the whole production value of it because it does sound like you're listening to a podcast as an audiobook, and it was just so cool, and I just love the romance so much. I give this one 5 stars. Definitely really enjoyed it, and I'm excited to see more of these Audible exclusive novellas that Audible has to offer, especially by authors like Jack Carbon, because it was so good. Then I was on a stretch of 5-star reads, which I was very excited for. I listened to the audiobook of Beautifully Broken Control by Catherine Cowles. She is easily becoming one of my favorite small town romance authors. I'm currently reading another book by her now. I just cannot stop. My Hoopla has a ton of her audiobooks, and this one I think is book 4 in her Sutter Lake series, and this is a heroine whose dad was like a millionaire, and so she lived a very lush, posh life, and it comes out that her father was actually stealing money from victims and people who like really needed it, and he had caused a lot of people to die by suicide as well, and so people are really angry at her family, and especially her. They would tell her that she needs to go and die and like all these horrible things to her, throw blood on her, and she's the one who actually helped bring her dad down. She had no idea what he was doing. She helped the FBI bring him down, and so now she's running away to a small town, and I think she changed her name, or at least she's going by a nickname and living here, and so she becomes friends with the people. We see a lot of the previous people from the previous books, and our hero is actually a millionaire, and so she is completely put off by money. She thinks it's disgusting. She feels so guilty over the lifestyle she lived at the expense of so many people because of her father that she's really living minimally right now, and she is not trying to spend money on a lot of things, and she donates a lot of her money and her time to charities. And so the hero shows up in town. He buys this like multi-million-dollar house. He's running away from something. He works in security. He's like a tech genius. He lost someone really close to him and he blames himself, and so he isn't really in a good place right now, and someone's kind of stealing things from his company and he's trying to figure out who it is. So he's hiding out in this place where all of his friends are, and he sees her, who's this new girl, hanging around, and he's very suspicious of her, but as he gets to know her, he realizes she's hiding something for her own good, not to like hurt other people. And so they get closer, and he realizes that his money isn't something that is helping him this time. It's like he has to do even more because she is like off-put by his money, which was really fun, but I love how much he wanted to just take care of her. Like, she had a bike and he's like, well, I know someone who could lend you a car, when he was really wanting to buy her a car because he just wanted her to be safe. And I just love how protective he was of her, especially like with his security company. He's like, I can get you security, like, let me take care of you. And he was just so sweet. I love a hero who loves to show that he really truly cares for the heroine, and that's what our hero was in here. And she, though, realized she was opening up so much to him and he had so much he was still hiding, so she had to have him open up to her, and 5 stars. I really enjoy this book. Definitely my favorite of the series. I'm so excited to read more from Catherine Cowles, and I'm super happy I read one that I loved in this series. Then in that reading vlog, I did read Return to Us by Corinne Michaels. This one was a little bit of a disappointment. So our hero and our heroine were together in high school, and the heroine just up and left and completely destroyed the hero's heart. And he tried to get over her, got married to someone else, had a child, and then his wife left, I think. Unless they didn't, I don't remember if they actually got married or not, but she left. So he's a single dad. Our heroine is actually back in town. She was a flight attendant and her flight went down, so she was in a plane crash, and she has a really bad traumatic brain injury that she's trying to recover from. So she finds it really hard to communicate sometimes, and she stutters over her words. She's seeing a therapist. I did appreciate how much we got of her trying to overcome this traumatic brain injury, and we got so many of her therapy appointments, which I really loved seeing that. But this book was just so slow, and I feel like the single dad element wasn't really done well. I feel like we didn't get to see him as a single dad. We didn't get to see the daughter that much, and she felt like she was there as a plot device and not really as her own character, which I don't really love in my single parent romances, and it just was boring. I thought that it just like dragged a lot and I didn't really love it, so I gave it 3 stars. Then I picked up Parallel by Elizabeth O'Rourke. This one I wanted to read because I read Waking Olivia and loved it, and I've seen a few people talk about this, and it is a time traveling romance, so I was like, yes please. It's really like a soulmates mystery kind of romance, because our heroine has been dreaming of this guy literally since she was a child. When she was a child, she's like, Nick's my husband, we're meant to be together, and she knows everything about him, and her parents are like, you're not married to someone named Nick, like this is weird. They take her to therapy and it pretty much like shuts that down for a while. Now she is engaged and they're days away, weeks away from their wedding, and the dreams are coming back full force, and she's actually having these like episodes where she has seizures and passes out and wakes up thinking she's married to Nick, and it takes her a little bit to remember like who she is and where she is. So they take her to the hospital, and her doctor is Nick, and she knows everything about him. She knows everything about his past, his patterns, his likes, dislikes, everything. Nick's actually dreamed of her too. He has not seen her face, but he dreams of her, he knows her, and they have an all-consuming love in their dreams. And so she's like, do I get married to this guy that I love, but it's not this passionate, all-consuming soulmate kind of love I have with Nick? And her and Nick start spending more time together. They're trying to figure out about this time traveling thing, and they meet someone else who can time travel, and it's so cool, but there's definitely a cliffhanger, and I'm dying. So much angst in this book too, because she is engaged, he's dating someone else, and she's like, I'm having these feelings for this other guy, and I love when it's a good love triangle so much. 5 stars. I've already got book 2. I ordered it. It came, and I can't wait to read it. Then I listened to the audiobook of Everything for You by Chloe Leese. This one is an MM sports romance again, and it is so good. It is a kind of hate to love, because the one really doesn't like the other one, but it is, they're co-captains, and so it's soccer. They are both on the team, and the one guy is older, and he is in constant pain. So he is definitely near the end of his career. He has back pain, knee pain, like everything, and he's used to it. And so this does have really good chronic pain representation, and it takes his job very seriously as captain. The other guy is more like it's like Grum Sunshine, and the other one's the Sunshine. He's like super happy-go-lucky. He's the Bergman brother, and he loves playing pranks with his siblings, and he gets the co-captain position with this other guy, so they have to co-captain, and they really don't get along that well, but they have to be cordial. They have to room together too, and like sit next to each other on planes because their coach is forcing them to, and it's super cute, forced proximity, and then they start falling for each other because they're also neighbors. I love a good neighbors romance, and so I just love the dynamics of this book and how they do get closer together, and the grumpy one like slowly lets him in because he also has like these old guys that he plays poker with, and so they end up inviting the Bergman hero over to spend time with them, and just the more they spend time with each other, the more it's really hard to resist each other, and I just really enjoy this one. I gave it 5 stars. It was super cute, but I love every Bergman brother romance there is, and the Bergman brother that's the hero. He has anxiety in here, and so the plane was super cute how the other hero was comforting him, and I just love this book. There were just so many cute moments in here. Definitely check the series out. It just gets better with each book. Then I listened to the audiobook of Underlock by Maria Zapata. This one is her MC tattoo romance. So our heroine gets a job as a receptionist at this tattoo parlor, and the hero is one of the tattoo artists, and he also is in the MC with her brother, and her brother gets in a little bit of trouble, so she is dealing with that in the MC, but it's not like super MC, so I feel like it's a good place to start if you want to get into MC romances, which is motorcycle romances. But our heroine does have to deal with our hero, who is very grumpy, but then he becomes very protective of her, and he constantly tries to say like, I'm not into her, but that's what the heroine then thinks, but he's really just like saying that to get people to get off his back, because he's like, I really like her. And I really like their dynamic. I like how he is helping her and very protective of her, and there's a lot of forced proximity in here. They have to go on a trip together, share a room together, share a car together, and then she has to live with him at some point because she's in danger because of what her brother did. I just had a lot of fun with this. I gave it 4 stars. It did go on a little too long, but like that's all Maria Zapata books are. It wasn't too slow burn though, but I just liked how he was just like, I like you, and the hero was such a fun character, so I ended up really enjoying this one. Then I ended up physically reading Dear Erin. I left my book behind there. I'm not gonna go grab it. I did read these for a video coming out next week, but Dear Erin is an epistolary romance, so our heroine is writing letters to Erin, who is a soldier, and literally half the book is their letters, which I thought I'd be really excited for, but they're very mundane and boring. So the letters go on for way too long, and I was falling asleep. It was so hard for me to continue this book. So many people told me when I posted I was having a hard time reading on Instagram, like, get to when they meet. It gets so much better. It is amazing. So it was really funny when they met. I love their dynamic and their banter. They like poke fun at each other so much, and it's super cute, but I was so bored by this romance. I was so bored once they met, and it was just fine, and I feel like we didn't really get a lot of closure either, which I felt cheated out of, because I'm like, okay, we had to wait so much for them to get together. Why couldn't we see them together? And I did not love the hero's reaction to some things that the heroine told him. He made her cry a lot, even though she was like misinterpreting some things, and she was just getting very emotional. I just didn't love it. It was a 3-star read for me. I wanted to love it more, but I just couldn't. Then I picked up Snow by Sophie Lark, and I still don't know if I want to give this 4.5 or 5 stars. It was just really good. So it takes place in Russia. Our heroine's dad gets into debt with the mafia, and she just graduated from medical school, so she's ready to be a doctor. She's really excited. She wants to move somewhere that like doctors are really well respected and make more money, but she realizes her dad's in severe debt that he can never get out of in his lifetime. And so our heroine, in order to protect her family, decides to go to the head of the mafia and say, please forgive my parents' debt. I will work for you. And so I believe it's like she has to work for them as their doctor for like 20 years. And Snow is our hero, and he is a fighter. I love a good fighter romance, and he has never lost. And he's fighting one of his bosses, I think, is like part of the mafia as well. So when he's fighting, he sees our heroine because she is there to be the doctor for the fighters who get hurt. So she's there, and that's how they meet. There's an instant connection between them, and they end up meeting up outside of the fighting and start a secret relationship that is just, and like I said, an instant connection. They really get each other. They really like each other. And Snow has never felt like this for anybody before, and so then he's very protective over her. But this big fight's coming up. He is in the tournament for the first time, and he sees an opponent that he might actually lose to, which terrifies him, and then he tries to save our heroine. So it is so good. I love a good fighter romance, especially when it's like illegal underground fighting, because this is not like good fighting. They will literally like break ribs, and some people die from these fights, and it's pretty dark, but I just really love this. I love their relationship. I know Ivan and Snow are the 2 most popular in the series for good reason. I gave both 5 stars, so definitely check out these 2. I'm excited now to go into the Kingmaker series, because I know Snow, I believe, is a teacher at the school, which would be really fun. And the last book I read is Things We Never Got Over by Lucy Score. I just posted my vlog of this yesterday. I listened to this on audio. Again, another super long book. I think it's like 600 pages, and it is actually a small town, fake dating, kind of single parent romance, and it was so cute. I had very mixed feelings going into it because it is so popular. It has over 70,000 ratings on Goodreads. It is constantly in the top 10 on Amazon, and I've not seen too many people like it. Now I know some people don't like it after posting my video saying, nobody dislikes this book. Some people have told me they didn't like it, which okay, I get, but it was a little too long. It did not have to be 600 pages, but it was super cute. Our heroine goes into the small town because her sister is a twin sister, says she needs help. Her twin sister is awful. My only complaint is that the twin sister I feel like was too bad and like too over the top villain, but because the sister, like, she shows up, the heroine does, and her sister steals her car, goes to her hotel room, steals all of her stuff, and literally leaves her 12-year-old daughter with her. Like, abandons her daughter. So our heroine had no idea she had a niece and is now trying to raise this niece and figure out like how to navigate what's going on by living in this town with her niece. And the hero is someone who is very, very grumpy, and he's the one that approaches her in the very beginning because he thinks she's her sister and is like, get out of here, like, you're a mess and nobody likes you and you just ruin everything, I told you to leave. And she's like, I'm not Tina, and it's this big joke that she's like not Tina and she's Naomi, but he's very grumpy and they immediately butt heads, but then they start a physical relationship and then they fake date for a specific reason. I do think like the fake dating was a little flimsy, like they didn't really have to fake date, but they needed it for the plot. But then of course we always have a kidnapping and a small town romance too, and this was just a lot of fun. I really enjoy these characters. I think a lot of the characters were really well fleshed out and all had a purpose and all had their own personality, especially the daughter. The niece was so fun and I really loved her character and how she brought all of them together, and how the heroine really had to think about if she wanted to take over having custody of the niece and what she wanted in her future, and the romance was good. So I gave it 4.5 stars. I do think it had some issues and it did go on too long, but I had a lot of fun and I'm glad I read it. I definitely also recommend the audiobook because it was really good. And those are all the books that I read in the first half of June. Let me know if you've read any of these and what your favorite read of June is so far. I would love to hear. As always, thank you so much for watching and have a good day. Bye.